there friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle from Fonda Crafts. Today I have this cute little wheelbarrow from the Target dollar spot and we're going to be giving it a makeover. So let's get started. The wheelbarrow is made out of MDF and I wanted to start by giving it one coat of chocolate brown from Craftsmart, and I'm going to paint all the sides except for the actual wheel of the wheelbarrow. So this is it after one coat. I'm going to use part of a sponge and I'm going to dab on, I believe this is Castle Gray from Folk Art, and I'm just going to do the underside and the handle of the wheelbarrow with this gray color. So I'm just kind of offloading my paint off of the sponge and just dabbing onto the wheelbarrow. Here I'm repeating the step but with black paint instead of the gray paint. So my idea was to give the wheelbarrow kind of like a galvanized sort of cast iron metal look. So I'm just dabbing the two colors on here. But I actually found that what worked best was mixing the colors on the actual sponge and then dabbing the mixed paint onto the wheelbarrow. So I'll show you here what it's looking like. During the editing process, I accidentally cut out where I showed you how to paint the wheel, but I just painted the wheel with just black paint and a paintbrush. Now here I'm showing you how with that paintbrush I'm mixing the black and the gray colors on my little paint tray there, and I'm just dabbing along in the crevices where the sponge couldn't reach. So like I said, it worked best to mix the two paints on the sponge, or in this case the paintbrush, to get the look that I wanted. So there's the wheel, it's painted black, and here I'm just going into some spots that I wanted to add more of that mixed paint. Here I have just a regular pillar candle from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add wax from the candle all along the wheelbarrow. And what this is going to do is it's going to resist the next paint that I add on, and it's going to allow me to give this a chippy paint look. So I'm focusing on the edges, but I'm just adding paint all along this wheelbarrow except for the bottom and the handle. And I'm just taking a paper towel here and just wiping off any loose wax that I may have. And this is Sheepskin by Folk Art. This is a chalk paint and it was actually pretty thick. So I gave this one coat, but then for the second coat I used Warm White by Folk Art, and that's just an acrylic paint. Now I'm going through and sanding off some of that warm white, and it's just giving me a chippy texture on the wheelbarrow. And wherever that candle wax was, it just kept the paint from adhering, so it was easier to wax and get that finished result. And with my little sander, I'm just sanding the wheel just right along the edges and in the spokes, just to add to that vintage look. And here I've got some Mod Podge and cinnamon. I'm adding the Mod Podge just in random places along the bottom, and I'm going to sprinkle that cinnamon to give me a rust look. So I'm just kind of shaking off the cinnamon that's not sticking, and I'm adding more cinnamon to random spots. So as you can see here, I'm using 2 paper plates just so I can reuse that cinnamon that falls off. And with this soft brush, I'm just brushing off the loose cinnamon. And once I do that, I add another coat of Mod Podge. I just dab it onto the cinnamon, and that's going to seal the cinnamon in. And after I finished this, I did give this 1 coat of a clear matte sealer. It's a spray in a spray can. I just gave it 1 coat just to seal everything nice and evenly. I let this dry overnight, and then I could prep everything for florals. So I added some styrofoam to the wheelbarrow and some moss, and I started off with this greenery. It's in the fall section from Michael's. You can see there that when I trim the stem, it just leaves an open stem and you can push the leaves out. So I used my pliers just to make a little shepherd's hook, and then those leaves can't be pushed out anymore. So I'm adding glue to all my stems before I poke them into the floral foam. I have these velvet pumpkins. They came in a pack from Hobby Lobby, and I want to make pigs out of them. So I'm just poking a hole with this little weeding tool, and I'm adding a wire. That wire just came from an old floral stem. So I added glue to where I poked the hole, and I added the wire. Now I'm just adding that pick into the floral foam, and I did the same thing with that second pumpkin. And now I want to add these cosmos. These came from the fall section of Hobby Lobby. I have these grass shoots from a fall bush that I have, and I'm just adding those. This little bundle of flowers also came from a fall bush from Hobby Lobby. I have 2 of those, so I'm adding 1 on each side. And these yellow mums came from Hobby Lobby, so I'm adding those. And that fall bush also had these little leaves, so I'm adding those. Michael's had these mushrooms during the spring, so I have a couple of colors of these mushrooms, and just like the pumpkins, I made pigs out of a few of these little mushrooms to add to this arrangement. Here's what we have so far of this little piece. I'm going to add more of the cosmos and mums. I wanted to add this bigger pumpkin right in the middle of the arrangement, so I made it into a pig. The stem that I used to make this pumpkin a pick was a metal wire with brown paper around it, so part of it had been peeling off, so I just added some brown floral tape to it just to cover up that exposed wire. Here's a little trick to curl up these grass shoots. Just run the blade of your scissors on the underside of the shoot and it'll curl up. I have these orange filler flowers. Those were also from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just adding them throughout the arrangement. And they had these little like heather pieces on them, so I added those as well. I have the same bush but in the yellow version, so I added yellow into the arrangement with that as well. These leaves brought the color green up through the arrangement. Instead of just keeping green down at the bottom, they allowed the green to be at the top as well. I changed this yellow mum with this brown Cosmo just to get a more even distribution of colors throughout the arrangement. I want to thank you for watching my tutorial. If you've watched this far, I am very appreciative of your time. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. And I would love it if you subscribe to my channel and come back next time. Thanks, friends.